Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to the channel. So today's video, we're going to be going over the Duramax here. Now, ever since I put the new wheels and tires on it, it seems to be getting a lot more attention on the channel. It gets a lot more attention in person too than it did before, and getting a lot more questions about it in the DM. So I had a good idea for a video, and today's video is going to be about some of the worst things about owning a diesel truck. Now, I'm not complaining about owning a diesel truck. I love this truck. I have two gas trucks still, so I know what the gas life's all about, but I am going to go over some of the stuff that maybe you didn't exactly think about when you're thinking about buying a diesel truck, or maybe you have, but more or less my biggest gripes with owning and driving a diesel truck. So before we get started, my truck is a 2011 Chevy Silverado with the LML Duramax, and I used to have a work truck that was a company truck that I drove every day as a daily. Well, I moved positions in the company, lost my company truck, and I had to go back to driving a personal truck. So now it's back to being my daily, and that was probably another reason I had an idea on making this video. Once you get over the obvious differences, like the truck is larger, or the cost difference, the sheer cost difference between a gas truck and a diesel truck, which could be anywhere between $5,000 to $15,000 more than its gas equivalent, depending on the brand and options, you're left with a great truck. Now, things that you may not have thought about when buying a diesel. Probably my number one thing that irritates me the most are the fuel filters. So this truck has got three. Now, if you have one that's stock, you're gonna have one. So what you got to do is you've got a fuel filter, because diesel fuel is absolutely awful, and the tanks it sits in and everything, and it will clog up, and if you don't change your filter, you're gonna ruin your injector. So it's a must do. You've got to do it. They're not that it's super expensive, but it adds up, especially when you got three to do. Now, the reason there's three is this truck has got the FASS lift pump. So see if you guys can see it down around in there. Now, I am going to delete the primary this go around and just go to the FASS and just have the two filters, but either way, it's still two fuel filters to change. Now, you go buy yourself a filters, and even if you just had the one, you're still talking 30 bucks, 30, 40 bucks. Then you've got the time of putting it on there, and it's not like you can just screw it off and screw it back on like an oil filter when you're doing an oil change. It's a little bit more involving. Depending on how your truck's set up, it's going to be different on how to access it, how to reinstall it. Duramax, you got to pull the fender liner. It's actually back up in there, and then you've got to prime it and all that other stuff to get the air out of the lines to start it. So a little bit of a hassle, not something you got to deal with on a gas truck. It's just something you got to worry about on just the diesels. The next thing, and this is probably more or less a my area thing, physical diesel fuel itself. Now, where I live, the two closest gas stations to me don't sell diesel. The third closest gas station doesn't sell diesel, nor does the fourth. I gotta go plumb into town and get diesel fuel. This depends on the area you're at. Not everywhere carries diesel. You would think that it would be everywhere, it wouldn't be a problem, and maybe it's getting better, but you know, because all your big sheets and Circle K's and all that carry it, but still out, depending on where you live, your smaller gas stations may not carry diesel. So the problem with that you've actually got to think about getting diesel, because I can't just go home and have barely enough diesel to get to a gas station, because I got to go a little ways to get diesel in it. So finding diesel fuel can be hard depending on the area. That's not for everywhere. It just depends. But one thing to add on to that, and this goes hand in hand with the fuel filters, if you get diesel from somewhere that doesn't sell a lot of diesel, it's normally awful. The tank is awful. If it's an old gas station, it's super dirty, and it will clog the filters up way faster. And you're just out more money putting filters on it or whatever like that. So the whole diesel fuel thing, for the fuel and the filters and all that, is the top gripe I have with owning a diesel truck. Now, another thing, and this is going to be mainly for you boys up north, and it gets pretty cold here in Virginia. You can't just go outside, start your truck up, just get in there, turn the key on, and be ready to rock and roll if it's cold. Now, in a gas truck, you still should let it warm up, but you know, in reality, believe it or not, modern day gas engines, you can let them things run for 30 seconds and you're ready to rock and roll. I'm here to tell you, that is the last thing you think you're going to do with a diesel truck. Now, Plugging it in, if you got a block heater, is going to help you. But if it is down to 0 or colder, you better plan to be letting this truck warm up. For one, you should have had it plugged in. Especially older diesels, the old Cummins, old Power Strokes. And this one's a little bit newer. It's got a grid heater, but if it doesn't have a grid heater or a block heater, you better think about setting aside some extra time to letting that diesel warm up. So big difference over a gas truck. You can just hop in a gas truck, let it run for 30 seconds, get in it and rock and roll. If it's freezing cold, diesel, not so much. And one thing, and it might just be this truck specifically, it takes longer to get heat. You know, a gas truck, I can go down the road, one of the 5.3s, and within a couple minutes, I'm starting to get heat. This thing, I've got to like go down the road, you know, and finally get it warm enough to get some heat going through it. It might just be this truck's thing, but definitely is a lot different than my gas truck. Now, the last thing I'm going to get into, and of course it's obvious, and again, I'm not griping about the truck. If you buy a diesel truck, you've got to be ready for any part that breaks to cost 2 to 4 times more than the gas truck. So, for example, I've got to put glow plugs in this truck. I need to replace like 2 of them are throwing the code, so I'm going to do all 8. You might as well do all 8 because they'll eventually go out. Glow plugs, just a singular glow plug, isn't that bad. It's like 13 bucks. Well, multiply it by 8, you know, then put some tax on it, it's $100. So $100 on a part that doesn't even exist on a gas truck. You have spark plugs, not glow plugs. And a set of 8 spark plugs is significantly less than $100. I know that for a fact. So, you know, you can buy a set of 8 spark plugs, we'll call it 20 bucks. Glow plugs, $100 for 8. So there you look at that, that's 5 times the cost of something on a gas motor. So you hear it, you hear people telling you, be ready if you're gonna buy a diesel to put more money into it. I do the majority of the work myself, which helps me out, but if you've got to take it to a shop, it's gonna get really expensive because people charge out the ass for diesel mechanics, for diesel work and stuff like that. And that is definitely something you've got to consider before you go and buy one of these trucks. Now, to close this whole thing out, I'm not going to keep on rambling on. I love my diesel truck. I will not trade this truck. This truck is better than my gas trucks, and it's a nicer truck. It's newer. It's a crew cab. It rides good, believe it or not, for a 3/4 ton. It has got stupid power with it being tuned, deleted, and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, there are definitely some downsides to driving this truck, daily driving this truck, over a gas truck. And it really just comes down to sheer cost and sometimes convenience. I definitely see the fuel filters as an inconvenience. All in all, think about that before you go and scoop yourself a diesel truck. If you're looking in the diesel truck market, more than likely you already know what you're getting into. But I just wanted to share a couple of my gripes about owning a diesel truck. Just a quick, simple, easy video for you now. So I appreciate you guys clicking on the video and watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you're not already, go follow me over on Instagram at Austin04_Z71. Take care. Have a great day.